Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing how Dana White's master plan was absolutely ruined by Sean Strickland's win over Israel Adesanya at UFC 293. I'm going to get into all of it right now, and let's get started. So, firstly, we got to talk about this. What is the master plan? I believe that Dana White has had a master plan for Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya, Dricus du Plessis, and Khamzat Chimaev for the past year now. I believe that he's been planning this out, and he's been looking to see if this is going to be the next possibility for the middleweight division and the light heavyweight division. I'm going to get into all of it, and we're going to discuss the first fight that kind of kicked all this off. Dricus du Plessis versus Robert Whittaker. Against all odds, Dricus du Plessis goes out there and beats Robert Whittaker very decisively. Wins the first round, takes him down. Robert Whittaker has unstoppable takedown defense, unbreakable stonewall takedown defense. Dricus du Plessis took him down with absolute ease.
Robert Whittaker, he recognizes and understands.
Manhandled him. It looked like a man and a boy fighting in there. Dricus du Plessis passes the guard like butter, gets on top of him, starts locking up a Darce choke, doesn't quite get it, starts landing brutal elbows, and cuts Robert Whittaker up badly. He's in a lot of trouble, saved by the bell. Second round begins. Dricus du Plessis comes out strong. Robert Whittaker comes out strong. He's throwing head kicks. He's throwing the 1-2 head kick he's famous for. He lands it twice, but doesn't really seem to even phase Dricus. And then eventually Dricus catches him coming in with a southpaw jab. Robert Whittaker tries to come in with that, karate stance with his hands down. Now, this would work if he was the taller fighter. We saw this against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Robert Whittaker, when Rob got finished again. But when you're the shorter fighter trying to fight a taller fighter with a karate stance, it doesn't quite work when you have your hands down. And he paid for it brutally. He's been caught by it in the past. He's been caught by the southpaw jab in the past. But he was finally really punished for it against Dricus du Plessis. Dricus drops him badly, hurts him, follows up and then finishes him badly in the second round, essentially finishing Robert Whittaker's title aspirations permanently and securing himself a middleweight title shot, or so we thought. The next fight that happened in Dana White's master plan was Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz at UFC 291, one card later, Salt Lake City, Utah, in elevation, which is a very important factor when discussing this fight. You see, Alex Pereira is known for having very good cardio on the feet, but when he starts grappling, his cardio just kind of fades. He's a guy that can kickbox for 25 straight minutes, but when you start adding in the grappling, his cardio severely drops. And against a guy like, Jan Blachowicz, who's been shown to have suspect cardio recently. In the Israel Adesanya fight, he showed to have 25-minute cardio. But recently, against Magomed Ankalaev, before they even started grappling, he looked very tired at the end of the third round, and his cardio has been shown to be somewhat of an issue recently. Jan Blachowicz does not seem to have that 5-round cardio anymore. And the fact that the fight was in elevation, which only further elevates Alex Pereira in this fight and further devalues and diminishes, Jan Blachowicz' chances of winning this fight, it only benefits Alex Pereira. And it's honestly a huge factor in this fight that I don't believe anyone's talking about. People constantly talk about how, Jan Blachowicz looked weirdly gassed. Why was he so tired? He had been doing almost nothing. It's because of the elevation and the fact that he's aging. The dude is about 40 years old. Recently, he hasn't been showing to have great cardio, and it's no surprise. Whereas Alex Pereira, even though he looked gassed, even though his cardio also looked worse than usual, he was still able to have significantly better cardio than Jan Blachowicz in this fight, and that played a massive role in his win. And I do believe that this fight was very competitive. I slightly edged it out to Jan Blachowicz, but it was such a close fight that I was like, it really doesn't matter. It's a coin flip fight. I just slightly thought that Jan Blachowicz won. I believe that the combos he landed in the third round played a massive role in the scoring, and I just don't understand why that wasn't taken into account. Now we got to discuss, why was Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira made? Well, Jamal Hill was injured, and Yuri Prochazka is still recovering. He's almost ready to go. He said I believe he's good to go now. I don't know, but he's almost good to go, if not already good to go. You know what I mean? And Jamal Hill just tore his Achilles playing basketball, vacated the light heavyweight belt in the same way that, Yuri Prochazka did last December. And guess what? The only other top guy would be Magomed Ankalaev, who's been hiding witness protection, or Jan Blachowicz, who's been out since UFC 282, and now he's back for UFC 291. So Magomed Ankalaev was not an option. Not only was Magomed Ankalaev hiding witness protection, On top of that, he's the worst stylistic matchup for Alex Pereira in the entire division. You know what I mean? I don't believe that that's a matchup that I would even remotely want to pick Alex Pereira in. He was taken down easily by Jan Blachowicz, so I'm not surprised, and I would not be confident in his takedown defense against a guy who is much better on the ground like a Magomed Ankalaev. Now, why didn't Dricus du Plessis get the title shot? Well, he didn't accept the fight at 293. Dricus du Plessis fought Robert Whittaker with a fractured foot. Apparently, the fracture got much worse in that fight, and he was unable to make it to UFC 293 for a title fight. Now, I know people are going to clown Dricus for this. I don't understand why. Why would you want to take a title shot, possibly the only title shot you are ever going to get in your entire life, injured? You know, what if you lose? You never get another title shot, and all it was is because maybe your foot hurt the fight. You know, maybe you couldn't walk on that foot, you couldn't throw with that foot, whatever. You want to risk that? You want to risk your entire legacy based on a fractured foot when you can just sit out and recover and then fight at 100% later? You know what I mean? I don't understand. It'd be absolutely ridiculous to make such a stupid decision like that. So I don't want to see anyone clowning him. I saw Israel Adesanya clowning him. I saw these other people in the MMA community clowning him. Why are you clowning Dricus? He's injured. There's no reason for another person to fight when they're injured. You know, I understand everyone kind of comes into a fight injured. But if you are risking a title fight, do not fight injured. Do not fight with a serious injury. Now, even after Dricus du Plessis said, "I'm injured and I can't take the fight," the UFC was begging him. I guarantee you, I bet you, they were giving him a lot of money. They were offering him a lot of money to take that fight because the UFC and Dana White did not want to make Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. The UFC probably views Sean Strickland as a PR nightmare and someone that is unpromotable, someone that is not a star in the UFC. That is factually incorrect. Sean Strickland is a star in the MMA community. I don't even like to get into all those TikTok numbers and analytics, YouTube, whatever. But Sean Strickland, look how much trending he gets. Look how many views his videos get. Look how many views his post-fight interview get. You know what I mean? He is absolutely a star in MMA, and it is factually incorrect to say otherwise. So what is this master plan I keep referring to? You know, it's in the title of the video. I discussed it at the beginning of this video. What is this master plan, this so-called master plan? What's Dana White's secret multiple fight plan? Well, here it is. I believe the UFC wanted Dricus du Plessis to beat Robert Whittaker at UFC 290. I believe they wanted him to make a relatively quick turnaround against Israel Adesanya at UFC 293, and I believe that fight would have been huge. And I believe Dana White knows that. He knows that fight would have been absolutely massive, and I believe they were very annoyed when Dricus du Plessis couldn't make this fight because that was their whole plan. Now, I think they wanted Israel Adesanya to defeat Dricus du Plessis at UFC 293 and fight Khamzat Chimaev later in the year or early next year. Khamzat is fighting October 21st in Abu Dhabi at UFC 294. Now, it's very unlikely Khamzat will return in 2023, but he might return, early May or March, whatever, of 2024. Now, they wanted Alex Pereira to defeat Jan Blachowicz at UFC 291. I believe that's one of the reasons they made the fight in altitude. They wanted the weakest possible version of, Jan Blachowicz, and it's not vindictive. I don't believe they have something against Jan Blachowicz. They just believe Alex Pereira is much more marketable than a guy like Jan Blachowicz, and I totally agree with that. Alex Pereira is a much bigger star in MMA than Jan Blachowicz ever was. Now, with a win over Jan Blachowicz, I believe the UFC and Dana White wanted to make Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka for the light heavyweight belt in December of 2023. And then I believe after Israel Adesanya hopefully defeated Khamzat Chimaev at whatever event they fought at, I believe they wanted to do Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya for the 205-pound belt. And I believe that fight would have been absolutely massive. Champ versus champ. Israel Adesanya going up in weight again. Now it's Alex Pereira who isn't on some crazy weight cut. And that would have been an absolute banger. Now the question still remains, who ruined Dana White's master plan? Who is the imposter? Who ruined this epic plan that I believe every MMA fan would have absolutely loved? Who ruined it? The person that ruined the plan is the person that made the plan. Dana White ruined Dana White's plan. And let me explain. Dana White scheduled UFC 290, Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis, just 3 cards before UFC 293 in Perth, Australia. He could have easily scheduled Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis for an earlier card, and it would have sold just as many pay-per-views. It would have been just as famous. It would have gotten just as much trending on social media. If he would have scheduled the fight just 2 cards earlier, it could have completely saved this plan. But the fact that he wanted the winner of that fight to make a very quick turnaround against Israel Adesanya is absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that I've noticed recently. Dana White absolutely hates when fighters do not take fights because they're injured, or when fighters are unwilling to make very quick turnarounds. And he absolutely shot himself in the foot with this matchmaking. He could have easily made the fight earlier. If Dricus wasn't injured in the fight with Robert Whittaker, maybe the plan could have come to fruition. But because of that, we will never know, and Dricus du Plessis may never get a title shot for the middleweight belt. And because of all of this, Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya was made for the UFC middleweight title at UFC 293 against all odds, and this is absolutely an upset-filled year. Sean Strickland goes out there and decisively beats Israel Adesanya 49-46, 4 rounds to 1. This is a very clear victory for him. Brutally dropped him in the first round, and it's kind of outpointed him for the rest of the fight. Now, I understand. People are talking about this fight like, oh my God, it was the craziest fight ever. This is the most wild fight ever. I do not believe this is the case. In fact, I believe this fight was incredibly boring, if I'm going to be honest. The only reason why I believe this fight was exciting was because of, 1, the knockdown in the first round, but 2, because of the anticipation of the fight. It's Israel Adesanya against all odds getting beaten by Sean Strickland. Who would have thought? If you actually go back and rewatch the fight, and I have, the fight was boring, man. I never want to see that fight again. And honestly, I don't want to see an immediate rematch. Israel Adesanya doesn't deserve one, but on top of that, I don't want to see an immediate rematch. That fight was incredibly boring. I do not want to see it run back again. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss another upload, and I will see you guys in the next one.